Right, so after a failure on this part, and the failure was when I placed in the nuts, it turned out that well, it didn't work. The code that I was using didn't work out well. It didn't park. Now I changed the code and it worked fine. This is the second time it stopped. First one's for the layer change to actually change the filament. Now I have to keep in mind that one, since this thinks it is a filament change, let me put this up, I still have to fix this. I have to make sure that I feed the filament back to the Bowden tube, or into the tube, this is not a Bowden anymore, sorry, drive, back into here, so I have to make sure it comes out, otherwise I'm going to have a gap. I went through that problem elsewhere. Here, you could barely see it, right, but let me zoom in. You'll see a thin layer of gray, actually on the top here, let me see if I can put that right here on the top is gray, same as this color. The bottom is silver, but this gray should have been silver, so this whole lip here would be silver, but that didn't happen. I fixed that on my STL file. I took the wrong layer, but I didn't want to trash this because, hey, this is a prototype. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the nuts in here, and I did on the other one. I placed the nuts in, but when I started printing again, it went bad. It was just a mess because it stopped right on top of the part. To be more specific, it stopped here where the last place was, and it kept on oozing filament, and there was no way I could get the filament out. I tried to cut it, but then it was too late. So I'm going to place these nuts in there. I did make these a little bit bigger, so that was one thing I repaired on the STL file, or the file I should say, not the STL file. And I'm going to put those down. So I'm going to pause this and I'm going to place them in. They should drop in nicely. Alright, so I went into something. I press here. Now, stacking the nozzle and start extruding possibly. I just have to remove whatever extrudes. There it goes. Waiting for purge, so let me go down here. Let me get this out of the way. Sorry for the bad video. Alright, now it says purge more or continue, so if I continue and I remove this amount, it'll continue. Now, what was the problem that I came through? Well, when it's parked here, it's not the code issue. Look at this piece of filament. I can't focus well. So if I go focus it now here. Alright, there you go. So this, I didn't pull it out, and it sort of like got that form, and it wouldn't go back out to the Bowden tube, well, to the tubing. I would still call it Bowden, but it's the Capricorn tube. It's direct drive, so it's not Bowden. But I couldn't push it back in. So I had to take this part from here, this part here. I had to take this out quickly. It cooled off, but I was able to take the filament out, cut it, put it back in, and then heat everything. As you saw, I pressed the button to continue, and it's continuing the print. So it says here, let's see, it has been 3 days elapsed, and approximately remains 1 day in 1 hour or two. 74%. So now the next step is to, as you see there, it's printing over. It will cover these nuts. I would like to risk it here, show you how these fell in there nicely. See how loose it is? Perhaps it's too loose, but I prefer that than what I had before that was a bit too tight. So by a day or so, this radar panel will be finished. This is the update. Everything did not go as planned initially. This is issue of retraction because I'm using a different filament, which I didn't have any settings for, so I just went with the standard setting. And there's, if you could see some of this, that's not stringing. It is, but it's more of a thin, so it's nothing bad. I could always clean that up with a heat gun carefully without destroying the part. So now it continues printing, and eventually it'll cover those nuts up. They'll be hidden, and that'll be all. Alright, so next update or next video will be this assembled with the nuts, and I'll see what else I could get done for you. And that's it. The same part that was printing on the Crender Slicks failed. And the interesting thing, it failed because of the same issue where it stopped here. You know how it started here? Well, it had stopped in the same place on the other machine, and it created the same blob. That one I was able to save, but I decided to scrap it. Good thing, because I had to do a minor calibration on the X and Y, because it turned out that the diameter was smaller, and now they're matching up, so that's good. All right, well, thanks for keeping up. Hopefully you find this interesting and you could ask questions. If anyone out there sees this and understands there's a better code, right now I'm using the M600 and parking it at XY, X10, Y15, and Z at 5. There's a better code for that where it would not eject the filament, but it would still park there. Let me know. I'm still in the training phase, so I'm open to suggestions. It might be the M25, but how would I turn it back on? Maybe something else. If you guys know, feel free to let me know. All right. Thank you. And as always, print, build, and above all, enjoy. Remember, this is a hobby. All right.